Can I just come in? Or? Thank you.
We get done. Violence is done. Be mad at me. Black Lives Matter.
Hey everyone, it's Eric with the crew. We're here in Seattle. We've been around the world to the Xinjiang Autonomous Region of China, to Palestine, Kashmir, Jammu, up against the Chinese-Kazakh border, up against the Russian border, in a lot of regions that are ambiguous in how they geographically define themselves and politically define themselves. Today, we're going to go into our own hometown of Seattle and check out the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone and see what that really does mean from a geopolitical standpoint as well as a political and movement standpoint with Black Lives Matter. I'm here with Kate Edwards, who is our geopolitical advisor, but you can tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I've been working as a geographer and cartographer in the IT field and in video games for over 30 years now. And basically I study sovereignty. I study the reason why people create countries and why they are able to have a country and what gives them the right to declare sovereignty and all those fun issues.
I think it's an amazing social experience. What I think is going on is that people are uniting. Seattle is different than any other city I've ever been to. People are uniting on a point that is telling everyone that people can unite and not be divided by something.
What it looks like from the outside would appear, as some media outlets have been reporting, that this is like some kind of autonomous state that's been formed within Washington State, within the United States of America, when in fact, you know, we don't really know what this is.
We're not receding from the United States. We're not claiming to be separate. What we are we're holding an area just to send a message, and people are listening.
It's a combination of several movements in response to a lot of the social injustice that has happened in recent times. And I think it reached a breaking point here in Seattle, which is not too unlike the kind of insurgencies and freedom movements and independence movements that we've seen all around the world throughout the centuries, including a lot that are happening today.
From time to time, we have factions, but right now this place is not occupied by any organization right now. This place is just the people.
I mean, there was some intentionality behind it. Like there was some like collective desire that if we had the chance, it would be great to have our own country, our own territory. But usually the effort to actually get it started is pretty accidental or serendipitous.
I know it says the Capitol Hill Autonomous Region, and I know no one's
I don't know who came up with that.
No one's leaving the U.S., but you are definitely trying to show an example of something different.
Right. That's our biggest thing.
We're autonomous in the fact that we aren't being governed by the police.
What we're trying to show people is that we can actually police ourselves. Because with the SPD, all the NYP, all the police departments, there's a little bit too much brutality coming on when they come in to intervene and police our situations.
What happens in the group thought that all of a sudden they go with it rather than go home?
Well, typically there's some kind of catalyst moment, you know, and it typically has to do with the use of force or lack thereof. So like in this case, you have the East Precinct of the Seattle Police Department, and the police, on orders from the city or council or whoever, basically decided to withdraw from the precinct in the area. And of course, once the police withdrew, you basically had a vacuum of power. Then who actually controls the zone? And I think that was the moment. That was the catalyst moment when people seized on it and said, in the emotion of the moment and in that kind of fervent desire, especially the kind of anti-cop sentiment that has been boiling over because of all the social, injustice issues that have been, highlighted recently, people felt like this was the perfect moment to basically take the step.
That's the main thing that leads to like
We're going to take you into the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone and go through the front entry gate. They've said that they've got this cordoned off and you've got to have an entry, but I don't think you do. I think it's just keeping the bad elements out. Thank you. So they're monitoring who comes in and who is able to come in and out to a degree. Doesn't seem to be a need for like any kind of pass or ID like people are saying. You can see people with radios on, like behind me, the guy with the radio, that sort of thing. They're probably communicating in case something bad happens. But these are the police barriers that were set up by the police and then left and abandoned. Essentially they're borders here, and this is the main forum in here of which you're having all kinds of people talk from different indigenous groups and Black Lives Matter.
I'm trying my hardest, I'm trying my damn hardest to get as many people, to get as many organizations that I know of to come together and work on the same thing.
What we are doing with the Democratic Socialists of America is showing up and showing solidarity with the Black and POC-led organizations that have been doing abolition work for a really long time. That really put pressure on elected officials to respond to what the people are requesting. It's really people reclaiming public space. Where, you know, a space where they can feel safe, where they can be in community and don't have to deal with the threat of state violence.
I've never seen a cop intervene and then a situation became better. You know, I've been beat up by cops. I've had cops pull guns out on me for driving my own car.
A lot of people don't trust the police anymore, especially after our weeks of conflict. So we've kind of taken it upon ourselves to make sure things aren't getting too violent or too crazy.
They started in the front, right? And they were like Trump supporters or whatever. Which, hey, look, I don't agree with anything they had to say at all. I don't like them that much, but hey, life is life. And as Americans, like, you're allowed to have an opinion. The problem is that their opinion is going to incite rioting.
We have been seeing some far-right movement. Everyone's welcome as long as they're welcome with us. We are keeping an eye on the situation. They have open carry guns on them. So they're coming mostly to intimidate us. We do have a group with us that is a gun club. Mm-hmm. They're not open carrying like you'd see on the police. They have concealed firearms, but they only have those in case if someone decides to open fire on us.
Everyone surrounds them. We're gonna maul them, right? Type shit. Someone's trying to attack them from the back. And that's when I was like, get that, I'm gonna get in front of them. And I got in the middle of everybody, I don't know no one, and I just said, like, let them be the idiots they came in here being, and let them walk out the idiots saying. You give them attention, that's the problem. I'm not a leader, you know what I'm saying here? I'm just a guy that shares a common idea with everybody else.
We still have law and order.
If the people can be this peaceful with each other, imagine if it was organized. Okay, there's no organization organizing any of this stuff, and we just turn it into a positive community, man. And where we can give people jobs, we can give children hope.
For us to come together as a community and provide a safe space for folks to stay the night or stay the day.
People are just, you know, they're living and you know, occupying the space for as long as they can sustain the infrastructure. And you see the extent of the gardening that they've been doing.
The idea of us being here and occupying this space is to physically show that we can take care of each other and that we are a caring community that can provide food and shelter and care for one another. I think the garden is a perfect example of that. I mean, 4 days ago it was like these 3 plots and they were just kind of like mounds of dirt on the ground. And now it's grown into a whole community operation. I hope that like there isn't a divide between what's going on in front of the precinct and what's going on over here. I see these two areas as a cohesive unit, as one unified protest.
You go from the central stage, the main street, the blocks that are blocked off, into this tent and garden area, and then you move out here into the field, which is now beginning to be occupied itself, and it's just moving and expanding.
So we don't have one solid leader. We just have a group of volunteers working together and communicating.
Still waiting for like strong leadership. No one leads anything. The people, if they do lead anything, they're not saying I'm a leader.
I would like to one day see this be a permanent installation with some proper barricades and just have this as a general street festival area.
Our goal is to be here until our demands are met. This is a long-term fight. It's been a long time coming. And we want to, show up with our people, our resources the most we can to support Black leadership in this moment.
If we can organize quicker than it foils, then it should last for a long time, for a very long time.
We've just left Chaz, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Region. We actually went in here to find out what does it mean to them to have this bordered, blocked off area and call it an autonomous region. It's been a pretty interesting discovery.
It's been really eye-opening. I mean, because whereas a lot of the outside media are portraying this as like some kind of, political insurgency or domestic terrorist or whatever it might be, there's always going to be flavors of, people taking control of space and then having to control the space and then do what they want inside that space. So, there's a lot of different ways that can be painted. It can be painted as terrorism or insurgency or anything. But what we're hearing is that these are just people who want to have peace in a certain zone, and basically, like we discovered, is show the world an example of what it can be like without being, militarized by excess police and so on.
Yeah, and I think what's happening and why there's the perception of it starting to become an enclave or a sovereign area. One, they probably chose poorly on the name, and I believe even some of the people we interviewed said the name was not the best decision. But also, whenever you cordon off an area behind a movement or multiple movements, you're going to have to start doing things like policing the borders, or what they're doing is just making sure bad elements aren't coming in. You're going to have to provide infrastructure, food dispensary, medicine dispensary, porta potties. In a space like this, you do have to create some structure to keep it together. And therefore, they're kind of accidentally falling into creating a sovereign space.
Exactly, because ultimately, I mean, when you control space, especially with people in it, you have to have all the infrastructure that you need to support human life. As one of the people we talked to said, they will think about what they do next after their demands are met. Well, in order to have demands met, typically when you're dealing with like a territorial dispute, you have an authoritative body within the zone of dispute negotiating with the authority outside the zone to basically come to some peace agreement or treaty or something. And so that, I think, in and of itself, to get your demands met, you have to realize that there must be some form of authority, even if it's not authority in the way that they might view it, but there has to be somebody who decides that we agree the demands have been met.
Make sure and subscribe, share, and check out the other autonomous regions and places, geographical places of interest that we've been to on the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and thanks, Kate, for being here.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.